Greetings, Ranger fans. Jake here for another review of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we're reviewing the reviews of reviewiness. You get the idea. These are our live commentaries of my web series, Database Rangers Power Reviews, which has been running for over 8 years, and we are counting down to the big 100th episode by going through all of our classic reviews, right now going through Power Rangers Megaforce. So, welcome to all of those who are joining us here in the chat. Welcome Sean, welcome Scott, welcome Jenny. Welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening. It is wonderful to see you. It's hard to believe we're chugging right along through Megaforce at this point. And tomorrow will be the mid-season finale of Power Rangers Dino Fury. The months have been flying by. It's hard to believe we're halfway through April now. So as far as progress on episode 93, I want to make some references to that. Episode 93 is been coming along very well, but, as there's always a but, I am still in need of a few pickup shots. There were a number of scenes that we had been planning to film last March, and then everything fell apart, and so that got delayed, and I sort of lost track of the fact that we never got those shots. So I still need to get those, and we're finally starting to open up, and people are getting fully vaccinated. But one of my actors did have a small family emergency to tend to, so it's looking like we won't be able to film those pickup shots quite yet. Hopefully soon. So it's looking like I won't be able to get 93 out by the end of April, sadly, but it should still be early May because it's still it's still largely on track to being done. I just need that handful of shots to finish fleshing out the last few bits of the episode. So I am obviously disappointed that I'm not going to be able to quite hit that personal goal, but it shouldn't set me too far behind for hitting the next one of getting the following episode out by either late June or early July, and then the episode after that should be out again sort of by late August, early September, and 96 should be on track for still being our last episode of the year. So I'm still in a good place for getting everything done that I want to get done this year. It's just looking like episode 93 may be running a few weeks behind just because of actors having personal lives they need to tend to, and obviously the year-long pandemic disrupting our ability to film a few things. So that's what's going on now. Any new RJ milestones? We're getting this close to being able to roll over, and we think we might see a tooth or two coming through. So we got some good milestones coming along, and they've been doing wonderfully. They're getting very vocal in a positive way. So trying to communicate, and they're just doing fantastic. Congratulations to Jenny on making it through the third quarter of school. We've just started our fourth quarter this week, where I'm teaching, and Scott asking about calculus lessons. I did go on like a little Twitter rant earlier today about just what calculus is and why it is taught very poorly. That's just my personal opinion, but yeah, if you want to just like learn how to do calculus, follow me on Twitter. I may have done a whole thread on what calculus is, which, if you have questions about math, feel free to ask them, and I can probably answer them. So this is Database Rangers Power Reviews, live commentary, and part-time tutoring, if you like. So, all that said, we should be diving into to our commentary now. Welcome to Chris and Jaliel as well. I'm sure that I'm always butchering that name, and I apologize for that. So, and yes, I will be releasing a trailer for 93 once I'm certain of when I'm going to be able to release the proper episode. So, all that being said, let's not forget our 3 equally non-controversial phrases that we should all be able to agree are equally non-controversial. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Black lives matter. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Fascism is bad. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Superheroes are fun. And I don't know if any of you noticed at this point, but I do apparently have a co-host who had just sort of plopped down before I came in here and has not been interested in moving. So I guess Ollie will be providing his own commentary this evening as we dive in to episode 22 of Database Rangers Power Reviews. Our review of Power Rangers Megaforce episode 3, Going Viral. And go.
Previously on Power Review.
There we go.
Welcome to our home. The name's Sir, right?
Borrowing that camera. Thanks a lot. The good doctor has modified our camcorder with a ton
Just cutting
of
together all these little bits here.
Stole.
If there's anything I can do to make it up to you, you make sure to let me know.
Power Surge.
Until then.
Oh, and I realize that
And now,
the
Database
white balance is
Rangers
actually a
Power
little rough.
Review.
Give me just a quick moment.
Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to Power Reviews. As you can see, we have the power back on, but Dr. K is still working on, what was it again?
Absolutely.
Rerouting the power to the flux modulator, the transdimensional stabilizer, to prevent the formation of volatile energy expulsion of the self-sustaining feedback loop.
What?
All that you need to know is that if I were to fix this soon, this building will be sitting in the geographical center of a mile-wide glass crater.
What have you been working on?
Not relevant.
Okay, well,
alright, so I apologize about that little error.
whatever, and trust me, I will have plenty of questions for her when she's done. Let's, skip over the summarizing and
So this was back when Kay was trying to sort of figure out how to get back home.
Looks like Kay isn't the only
Back
one
before she had the the missing ingredient of the wireless interdimensional interface to sort of start dimension hopping later in year 2.
Apparently mistakes it for an entirely different kind of webcam.
Gotta go. Bye.
Dude, you're trying too hard. Noah interrupts his impromptu workout.
Yeah.
Again, seriously, trying too hard. To find out if he's taken up the guitar in yet another attempt to impress Gia.
This is
Turns out the real answer
so
is he's trying
strange.
to make himself expelled. Yeah, even I can't justify this one. Let's just quickly run through all the questions this scene raises.
Oh man, this
If
has so
Gia
much
doesn't play the guitar,
stranger
when did he get a guitar case?
stranger context
2,
now.
Has he been carrying this case
in-
with him all day?
Like
3, why does he need a case?
I'm a
to
teacher
carry
now.
with him
This is
if he's
extra
not very
uncomfortable.
hard? 4, why is he asking Noah for help instead of Gosei or Tensei?
Like
5, how do you even calibrate a magic axe? 6, why is he doing this at the school?
you shouldn't
7,
take
why is he spinning it?
you shouldn't
8,
take weapons.
why is he trying to balance it on his hand? 9, why is he trying to kill Noah? 10, why is he laughing about all of this?
I forgot how many
10
questions
right
I
there,
had
and we
about
haven't even
that
hit the opening
moment.
credits yet.
This does not bode well.
We take a break from this dangerously aggressive behavior
This-
to check in with
This
our
is
host.
really just like
Brock has
so
unleashed a
perfectly
brand new monster,
encapsulating
Viral,
all the
a
problems with
unwitting
Megaforce that
with a
that started
plan
to become
transform
obvious
the
around
world
this
of
point.
mindless minions with the
Like the
power
first
of
2 episodes,
sneak.
like there were bits that were just
Meanwhile,
not
Noah
quite
wraps up work on the
feeling
social
right,
hub
but you felt
for
like it was
our
just
county
getting
hub.
its legs.
And we have a locale
And
name,
then
ladies and
here,
gentlemen. We have a locale name. He moves
things
on to figuring
really
out
started
how
to get
fix
like,
the exact
what
he
is
goes
this
on
show?
another rampage, but finds himself unable to lift the bizarrely heavy weapon, coming down with a sudden case of ETSD, episodic temporary self-doubt. It's a very acute syndrome that can strike suddenly, but don't worry, within a week it will be like it never
I
happened.
forgot
After
that I
Jake
came
walks
up
in
with
on
that
Noah
term,
attempting a few
and I
push-ups,
love it, and I
he
want to
decides that
use
what
it
his friend
more.
really needs more than exercise
ETSD.
is a good old-fashioned motivational speech.
It's not about muscles.
Episode
It's about believing in yourself.
temporary self-doubt.
You believe in yourself,
hyperbolic platitude.
Jake's mastery of subtlety having
I love
gone
Dr. K's
unnoticed.
commentary here.
Do you think Jake might, have a little crush on you?
Kind of the same way a Megazord's foot has a little crush on an abandoned building. Their dishing is interrupted, though, when the trio spots the
At this
civilians
point,
infected by Virox,
we'd
who are not
really
only
just
being transformed into
so
but also spreading the
so
virus to
very
other civilians as
well
they
got
do.
into the snark of everything.
Suddenly the name Loogie makes a lot more sense. They notify Gosei
And Megaforce was just such a fun season to snark on. Like, it has so many flaws. There's so much material in every episode for different things to have fun with when snarking.
Then how do we stop them?
And I kind of miss doing that.
Aren't you guys glad you called them? Jake and Noah rush
But
out
I
to the
feel
others,
also
but
like
Noah has to run on ahead,
it's
while
just
Jake
no
hurries
longer
back to
really
grab his snake axe.
in the
I
vein
will
of
point out
what
how
I
silly it
do
is that he
anymore.
has to run back for something that he could just as easily summon during battle, but I'm assuming that he doesn't want to leave an unattended weapon on school grounds.
Yeah.
Which brings me back to my original 10 questions, and I don't want to go down that path. Along the way,
There's
Noah spots Virox in the midst of another attack.
now that I'm a teacher, just the thought of a student bringing an axe into school is just so much more uncomfortable.
We meet again. After a
And
moment's hesitation,
obviously,
Noah
the
morphs and
fact that
dashes under
nobody
the
in
bridge
this
to save
episode
her
is,
confused and ill-informed
you know,
woman.
covering their mouths or
Are you some kind of superhero? Is that some kind of stupid person?
I'm going to assume she's suffering from some kind of concussion. Wait, aren't you busy making sure we don't explode?
It does not mean that I've gone deaf, obviously.
Okay, Noah attempts to take on the monster with his sharp bow gun, but when his armor proves too strong, it's up to Jake to come to his friend's rescue. Unfortunately,
There's a
their
little
tag
weird
teaming only
sound effect
manages to
that
drive him off,
I
but the
think that
amnesiac
may
is
have
still
been
very
something that was
grateful
placed
for
there in
Red's
error.
See? What did I tell you?
I apologize for that sound effect
You might
landing
think
there
this would be
somehow.
the end for
I think
Noah's
that was a
heroic
copy and paste
self-doubt.
error.
You would be wrong. Elsewhere, the now morphed Emma, Gia, and Troy decide to deal with the Loogies by running away.
Yep.
Well, as long as they don't destroy any moving vehicles along the way, they've still got the edge on Samurai. So Troy and Gia help Emma to the top of the
The
storage
"Are you
container
some kind of
Okay, stop
superhero"
right there.
line has become so
Why does she
memetic
need help?
since then.
Even discounting the fact that just last episode she jumped hundreds of feet in the air to access her Megazord, in her very first battle, she flew. This isn't at all helped by the next scene.
I forgot
They
she could
pull up
fly.
Jake and Noah, and the Blue Ranger gets his foot pinned underneath the snake axe.
It-
Okay, I know that Vin's here primarily for the physical comedy, but come on! If Jaden can dual wield a pair of fire smashers and Bridge can lift a car over his head, I think Noah can nudge an axe off his foot. Luckily, Noah still
This is
has the
cute.
wherewithal to recommend they quarantine the Loogies, an idea that Jake happily claims credit for.
I didn't know you were so clever, Jake.
There are a lot of things you don't know about me.
I like jazz music, long walks on the beach, and trying to separate
This bit-
people from their limbs in my spare time. So the Rangers get to work, getting the uninfected civilians to safety, and rounding up the growing number
Yeah,
of Loogies.
Jake- Jake the character, as opposed to
There
Jake
are far
the
more
me,
of them than there are of you.
is
Unless they all have
so...
extremely low stamina, and you guys
There's so
been
much
chugging Red Bulls like
uncomfortable
crazy,
context
I'm
surrounding
pretty
him.
sure
Like,
you're
Azim
going
Rizik
to
does
fire
a
out
great
first.
job with the character. He's
Please
playful and
stop adding to my
charismatic,
list
but,
of
like,
things that don't make sense. On their way to join
he's
them, Noah and Jake run into Virox.
very suspect here.
The Black Ranger leads the charge,
Like,
but once a
he's
brutal
irresponsible,
beatdown of the monster knocks
he's
him down
showboating,
to the
he's a
couch,
danger
it's
to
up to Luke
others,
to finish the
he
job. Realizing his
is,
bow gun
like,
still can't
really
penetrate the
sketchy
monster's
with
armor,
everything with
he goes
Gia.
for the snake axe, but
There's a
still
lot of
finds it
problems
too
there.
heavy to lift.
You can do it, Noah. Believe in yourself. Huh? Believe in me.
Don't believe in yourself.
And of course,
Believe in the coming out who believes in you. So Noah tosses his bow gun.
Of course, we have to get in the
Gurren
Gurren Lagann reference here.
Necessary to slash Virox hard across the belly with Jake's axe before flinging it aside, catching his favorite weapon, and
Yeah.
blasting the monster's wound at point.
Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann
Also,
was just a
the others
natural
arrive soon
reference
after,
for this
having already
episode.
quarantined the Loogies with their power cards of land and sky. Funny, I would have expected something more tornado-shaped. But back to finishing off.
Yeah,
the
I don't
monster.
know why they made a cube. This makes no sense.
That does not sound child appropriate.
Finally united, The team forms the Megaforce Blaster to destroy
Gurren
Virox
Lagann
and
definitely
Fury's
has
infected bodies.
its
In a
issues,
hurry to free them,
specifically
Noah
with
borrows the snake axe one more time,
various contexts
then runs
surrounding
across the
Yoko.
city to crack
But I
open
will
the
admit,
box,
the fact that it
successfully
escalates
crushing,
in its
saving
crazy
the
mecha
Megaforce
battles
side.
so much
I'm
across the
starting
course
to
of the
wonder if
series is
there's
just
something about
outstanding.
this axe that encourages dangerous behavior. Anyone else getting shades of The Shining here? The Rangers then reform the Megaforce Blaster
These are
and
fun.
return to observe Virox's burning remains being resurrected by the Zombats.
It's a
Not thing to do. They summon the Megazords
very weird
and form the Gosei
editing
Megazord.
bit
But
there
once
from
it's revealed that
Megaforce.
his armor is still too tough for them, the monster snags their dragon sword. Feels like no one can hold on to a weapon in this episode.
But
Virox goes
a lot
in for
of
the finishing strike,
sort of play-by-play
but Noah
snark
gives reason to
that I
the
did
curse
back
and
in these
does
early
the
days.
impossible.
Well,
By
one,
passing the
I just
blade
don't
and
have the
holding
time
on
to
the
do that
monster
level of
for
editing
sheer
anymore.
willpower. He then notices a glow.
But
coming
two,
from
I
his-
feel like other
Okay.
reviewers basically
It's a
do
new power
that
card
sort
from
of
Gosei, allowing him
that
to
sort of
summon the
routine
Manta,
now.
Sawshark, and Hammerhead Zords,
The
collectively
comedic
known as
recap
the
with
Sea Brothers.
with the
After
snark.
some quick
Orange
reconfiguration,
Ranger specifically
they hatched
has
to
sort of
form the Sea
picked up
Gosei
the
Great
picked up the
Megazord,
torch
complete with the
on
ability to
that
scale,
style of
slash,
review,
and bash.
as Power Reviews has really evolved into more of a serialized story focused review series
And
that's
so the days
become
sail.
very different from how it
Back
started.
at the school, Noah reveals that he's finished recalibrating Jake's snake axe. Although technically, I think replacing the material.
But yeah, I think one of the
titanium alloy
biggest
would
issues with the
mean a
fan
full
service
upgrade.
in Gurren
But after Jake
Gurren
tests it
Lagann
out and causes some
really comes down to
accidental
the
property damage,
supplemental
he worries
material
that
that
he might
gives
not be able to cope with the new
information
weight.
on Yoko being like well underage, which just makes it
And
deeply
that's the end of
uncomfortable,
our
and I don't
episode.
know why
So,
they
what's
chose
not
to make her
negative?
that age.
Well, this one's kind of a mixed bag. There were definitely some nice plot elements, especially Brock's plan of turning the people of Earth into loogies, which was both clever and surprisingly effective before the quarantine. This was also a good
A lot of
example
Megaforce
the
in
message,
these,
which I think was
looking back on it, is really much more entertaining in sort of a bit of a so bad it's good kind of way. Like Megaforce feels like
I think we got the message.
a parody in
other
many
news, you
ways.
should totally check out Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
It feels
Not only
like
is the show awesome,
somebody
but Tony Oliver,
somebody's
the original
reimagining
producer
of
Mighty
Power
Morphin
Rangers
directed
the way
the
they
dub.
remember it being.
What else do you need to know? Back to the episode.
I've often joked that Power Rangers Dino Thunder is basically Mighty Morphin Power Rangers if it was as good as you remember it being, and Megaforce is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers if it was as bad as you remember it being. You know, the morals of the day are
That line is just going to go deep into my brain and live there.
yes,
Anyway,
yes, it
my
will.
point is
That line will
themes
definitely
of
burrow deep
friendship
into my
and
brain.
believing in yourself are
But
good ones.
the
But the
heavy
manner
focus
it's
on the
presented
morals of
is
the day, the
something
very
else silly.
cheesy
Oddly enough,
performances,
this could pretty easily
the
be fixed by
heavy
one
use of Sentai footage. Megaforce had more Sentai footage than any season since the first season, to my recollection. The very the very weak plots and all and goofy dubbing. You know, all the things that people kind of make fun of Power Rangers for are present in Megaforce in ways that they aren't really in other seasons. But it's kind of fun if you're seeing it in that sort of, you know, self-parody kind of way, even if it doesn't feel like it was an intentional self-parody.
Assuming we're both still here and not completely vaporized, make sure to join us next time for episode 4 of Power Rangers Megaforce, Stranger Ranger. Until then,
Yeah.
everything's fixed.
Affirmative.
So
There we go.
we're not going to explode?
Not due to any immediately identifiable causes. No.
Good. Because we need to have a serious conversation about what you've been doing with... Now, who could that be?
Here we go. Hey, guy.
Hi, guy. Server. Yes?
You recall my camera?
Yeah?
The one that you allowed to be stolen?
Right.
He's as I'm trying to remember my bad excuses.
Make it up to me?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, do you recall the recent power outage?
Yeah.
I will let you know that I had a great
And
deal of
here we
valuable
get the
electronics in my
actual
apartment.
fallout for this.
Had?
They were overloaded,
Oh.
burnt out.
Oh.
They
Caught fire.
Wow.
Not I'm surprised you didn't notice.
I thought I smelled something funny.
Obviously, I will need a place to stay while
We
they
get a
were
really
in the
good,
apartment.
And you
really
wanna
good back and
stay
forth here
here?
Yes.
with the timing on
Will that
this,
be a problem?
Well,
on this
I only have
conversation.
the one bedroom.
That's fine. You can sleep on the couch.
What?
I'll return later with my belongings. The ones that survived the fire, at least.
But wait,
Here's a
What?
what? You always gotta have a what. This one definitely had a few more references than most, which was fun. Little cutaway gags, etc.
Previous.
Oh, nope, not jumping over yet. That's got to wait till next week when we take a look at Stranger Ranger when Guy moves in, which has its own fun aspects. But yeah, Guy's hair has definitely varied over the course of the show. It fluctuates a lot, unfortunately, and that just comes down to time between filming. My hair, has changed length plenty of times during the course of the show, but it's easier to miss because it's all pulled back. But because Dave's hair grows out when it grows out, it's a little bit more obvious in that regard. And I will admit, there are definitely some scenes coming up where the fact that things were filmed at separate times is probably a little bit more obvious than would be ideal. But you work with what you got. Power Reviews has never been a professional production. Everyone who I work with, have their own lives, have their own jobs, have their own timetables, and you just kind of have to do what you can to get it done. It still continues to be crazy to me how long I've been working on this show, and how much it has evolved across the course of time. But it is really fun looking back at these earlier episodes and seeing how much I was leaning into the comedy back then. In a way that I don't really anymore, and it's a little bit sad because the comedic aspects are so fun. And obviously I do still try to deliver good snark, good jokes, good back and forth. I feel like we had pretty good interplay with the landlord in episode 92. MJ, we say that your wigs are the only hair in the series that never break on-screen continuity, but at the same time, let's not pretend that we actually always have them lined up accurately. Dr. K's bangs have definitely scooted up and down on occasion. It's something that we try to be careful about, but it is something that, we don't have a separate hair and makeup person. We don't have people monitoring things. It's all just basically, I'm trying to remember how things were the last time, and my actors are trying to stay on top of things with keeping themselves consistent. And, I don't have, all these references to look at. I don't usually have, a bunch of time to make sure that got everything perfectly set up. It's just sort of usually okay, here's the camera, it's in the right location, things look about right, and go. And that's definitively true when it comes to anything involving database, because for almost every shot of database, I'm shooting myself. I'm filming myself. And so I'm just trying to make sure that it's in the right angle, that it works. When even back then in these early episodes, this was before I had the full-size tripod. The tripod that I have now I didn't get until I was working on episode 79. And so the tripods, I went through 2 different tripods before this one. And they were both on the shorter side. They were like 4 feet tall. So when you have bits like me standing and talking back and forth at the door with Guy, I had to have my camera like up on top of a tray table so that it would line up right. To make sure we had the proper lighting, I had a desk lamp set up on top of 2 boxes on top of a tray table so that the light would properly shine on the actors' faces. All of my equipment during this time is basically boxes and tray tables. And that's just how I get everything lined up. And truth be told, that's still how a lot of my setup is. Like right now, the laptop that I'm speaking into is resting on top of a small box on top of a tray table. It's actually the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid box, just because that happens to be a good height to get the camera of the laptop up to my face. And yes, sometimes I do tray tables on top of tray tables. It depends on what I'm trying to shoot. When I'm filming the deeper looks, because I have such a short turnaround time on those, I don't have time to memorize each line as I go through, and I'm trying to film them quickly, because taking care of RJ all day while putting together the script. I actually have next to my tripod a tray table with the Heroes of the Grids box, a large cardboard box on top of that, a few pieces of wood and a smaller box on top of that, and then a piece of Luon that extends over that above my camera so I can rest my laptop on top of it so that I have my laptop just above my camera to act as a teleprompter so that my line of sight is reasonable. So that is how I make use of boxes and tray tables behind the scenes of this show and every instance that I've worked on. I've tried different things as teleprompters too, like balancing a small TV on top of boxes and tray tables and pieces of wood, but that didn't work as well. Not because anything broke or anything like that, just my eyeline was varying too much with that wide a teleprompter. But yes, Mayo is absolutely in a wig, as is Dr. K, as is K Alpha. We have quite the assortment of MJ wigs now. And yes, everything in this series is very slapdash in a lot of different ways. When we do get to Alphabet Soup, where I don't have like the tray tables and boxes, there are definite cases where I am like using duct tape to hold my camera to the side of a garbage can that I found. Like, that's the sort of stuff that pops up in some later episodes of Power Reviews. You guys, I hope you have not fully gathered just how, like, slapdash a lot of the stuff behind the scenes of this series were, especially when I was putting out an episode every week or few weeks, as opposed to every 2 months now. But yeah, K Alpha's wig technically it doesn't actually even belong to us. We borrow that one, just as I borrowed the original camera from Dave. He let me borrow that, and I still have it. And the only reason I don't still use it is just because it's gotten so old that the switch from on and off no longer works, which I really need to figure out what to do about, because there is some footage on there that I need to recover for some upcoming episodes, and I still haven't figured out how I'm doing yet. May need to consult the Geek Squad. But yeah, it's very much Ed Wood style in the filmmaking, and definitely leaning hard into our theater background, especially in these early episodes where we're just sort of where the dialogue is very, very snappy, and you know, mugging to the camera and a lot of stuff that has sort of taken a back seat in more recent years. Although I still love characters like the Morpotsners and Dr. C, who still have the freedom to be truly goofy in their performances. But that being said, I think that we are right about wrapping up for the evening. This was another fun one to look back on. We're really in that zone of Power Reviews having really hit its stride in terms of the comedy. The editing is getting stronger. The story is slowly unfolding, although it's still, very much in bits and pieces, and it's only, because we've now become invested in these characters that we're in it for the story now, to see what happens next each time. It's not fully in there for the story, but we're enjoying it along the way, where you want to see, okay, what are these characters going to do with each other next time. I will admit these do make use of rips of TV rips as opposed to DVD rips back then, because I was trying to do these on a weekly turnaround time. Fortunately, that did not end up being a problem with Saban Brands, as I was later approved for Power Force and got clearance to continue using footage. But it was definitely, it was very slapdash in terms of how everything comes together. But all that being said, we will continue our journey through year one of Power Reviews next week, when we take a look at episode 23. And Ollie is having a fantastic nap over here. He's just been out for this whole time. Yeah, he's a sleepy boy. So let's wrap things up with our 3 closing, equally non-controversial statements. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Robots are cool. Don't you agree, Ollie? Ollie agrees. All right. And with all that said, I think now is a good time to go take care of a few other things, make sure that everything's doing well rolling into the weekend for one more deeper look at Power Rangers Dino Fury before they head off into the hiatus. So don't forget to tune in Sunday morning at 8 a.m. for the next deeper look at Power Rangers Dino Fury. I felt like we went over some really interesting topics in the last one with Warden Garcia, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what the mid-season finale has to bring. So I hope you all have a great evening. You have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you again soon. And until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.